Hello everyone, Mr. Lyman here, your bearded librarian, and today we're going to talk about developing a topic, information to consider before writing. As we know, in the writing process, we always have to have a topic and a thesis, a theme, something that we're going to produce and report on. So this little short video is talking about developing a topic. Things to consider. We're going to look at a little analogy called learning to swim, the information pool. We're going to look at some examples and we're going to make some observations together. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to develop your topic and narrow it down to the best possible topic without being too vastly broad. All right, so this is our research information pool. There's a little bit going on here, so I'm going to take a moment to just kind of talk about each section in short. So we have our deep end on the left, which is our broadest topic. Then we have our transition area or our middle end, which is something more narrow of a topic. And notice in the little image up top, we have too broad, too narrow. Now notice if it's too broad, that means we're going back towards the deep end. We don't want to go and stay in the deep end. We want to work our way to a good topic. So as we transition, we go narrower into our shallow end. Whereas our narrowest topic, that allows us to have a topic that's just very workable and we can build on that. Now, looking at our same analogy here, we're going to look into some examples from the trails assessment that you guys did. If you look at the ecosystem, the desert, and then the sand dune, and then oceanography, the cause of tsunamis, earthquake, binge drinking at college, and the effects of laws on binge drinking. These examples show us a transition from deep to shallow. So at the deep end, we have ecosystem, oceanography, binge drinking. In the middle, we have desert, the cause of tsunamis, binge drinking at college. And lastly, we have sand dunes, earthquakes, and the effect on alcohol laws, the effect of alcohol laws on binge drinking in our good topic area. Okay, so just take a moment and just kind of soak this in. I know this is a lot, but take a moment to soak this in and we're going to start breaking it down in the next slide. Okay, the deep end. What do we observe? The deep end is the broadest term. The deep end is the first step in immersion in a topic. So very much like a swimming pool, when you jump in the deep end, usually it's about 9 to 13 feet, you always want to remember, this is where it's the most broad, the deepest water, the most possibility to drown in information. So if we were to do research on ecosystems, oceanography, or binge drinking, these topics are so vast that if we did a Google search or a database search, we're going to find a ton of results. There are multiple ecosystems or biomes. Oceanography is a gigantic field of study. Binge drinking is a very large topic, and they all have subsets that you can study or look up information on, subdivisions that you can look up. So when we look at the deep end, we're looking at the broadest of our topics, and what we want to do is narrow down. So if you look at an example as ecosystem, if we know that there are multiple ecosystems and we haven't identified which one or one in particular or anything like that, we're too broad. Okay, so when you start your research process, if you look at a topic and you're like, can I narrow this down further? Then it might be time for us to move on to the middle and the transition to something more specific. The middle end or the transition area. And so what do we observe? Now, the terms in here, we have desert, the cause of tsunami, and binge drinking at college. Now, this transition area is not as deep as the deep end, but it's not as shallow as the shallow end. It's right in the middle. So when we're looking at deserts, there are multiple deserts on this earth. Cause of tsunamis. There are multiple reasons why you can have a tsunami. And then we look at binge drinking at college. There are multiple reasons. So when we look at these, yes, we're not as deep as the deep end, But now we're looking at it and say, okay, this is more manageable, but is this exactly what I want to look for? You can still go any number of directions with this particular topic, even though this topic is more manageable. So it's important to keep in mind that this area can be a little tricky because you can get to this area and say, you know what? I have everything that I need. I'm going to look up deserts. And then you have to think, what about the desert? Ecosystems, we have a lot of ecosystems or biomes around the earth. If we have a desert biome or a desert ecosystem, what are we looking up now? Are we looking up, the temperature? Are we looking up the climates? We're looking up rainfall. There's so many different elements under deserts that we can look up. Same thing for tsunamis. Same thing for binge drinking in college. They are subsets of their original term, yet they can be further simplified or narrowed so that we can find, a more narrow topic or a better topic for us to look at that's not going to be so vast. So yes, you might be able to bounce your feet off the bottom of the pool if you've ever been in the middle end of a pool, but you're not quite stable to stand up on your feet in this section. This is that transition area. Which brings us to our shallow end. Now that we've looked at, the different, areas of the pool for the deep end and the middle end, now we're going to look at the good topic or the shallow end. Now, what do we observe on this one? The shallow end is usually the most specific or narrowest term that we can use. That means it's something very specific in that area. This is where topics are the most manageable. This is where specific research can begin. Notice I said specific research and not research in general. Okay. Now there are, opportunities where you can still draw in information in the shallow end. Just because you are on a specific topic doesn't mean you still don't have too much. Okay. But the chances are more likely for you to be stable than to drown. So some things we need to identify. Looking at the first example, a sand dune. A sand dune is within the desert. The desert is within the ecosystems on Earth. So that means we have now identified a specific element of deserts to look at. Same thing for earthquakes. Earthquakes we know happen. And earthquakes is a little bit of a broader topic as well, but it's really specific when you put it in context of tsunamis, for causes of tsunamis and oceanography. In that context, earthquakes is the most specific element of it. Same thing for the effect of alcohol laws on binge drinking. It's a specific subset of the previous topic of abusing alcohol in college or binge drinking of alcohol in college. So this area is going to be an area where we look at the most specific. This is a good place to start. Why? You won't get as many results when you're looking for sand dunes or earthquakes because they're narrowed down, as opposed to looking for oceanography or a biome or ecosystem. So we are looking at the most narrow version of this topic, which helps us to grow. Now, it is possible to get more narrow or to get more broad, but we want to find somewhere that's a manageable place for us to work. So when we're looking at the shallow end and observations, these topics of sand dune, earthquakes, and the effects of alcohol on binge drinking are great topics to really explore to get to that point. And just a reminder of our information pool in its entirety. Remember, a broad topic is a topic, or the deep end is the broadest topic. Ecosystem, something very massive. It's easy to drown in information. It's so much that it's hard to keep your head above water. The transition area or the middle end is where you start to transition to make your topic narrower. If you make it more broad, you're going back towards the deep end. But if you make it more narrow, you're going towards the shallow end. And the shallow end is our narrowest topic. That's where the good research can begin, in the sense that we won't have as much information to look for. We have defined terms. We have specificity is what we're looking for. We're looking for that specificity. So this is our information pool when doing research and developing a topic. We can start at a deep end with a very broad topic, but we want to work it to the shallow end and make it more narrow so we're not drowning in information, we're not lost, we're confident about the information and information seeking process.